Why do you believe that our founders wanted to give the citizens the right to defend themselves?
I think at the time in particular, the citizenry did not have a guarantee that the government would protect them, and they wanted to have the opportunity to protect themselves against a tyrannical government.
Bingo. I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people, when they think about the Second Amendment, they really don't look at the context of when it was written and the fact that our founders had just fought against a government. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You just watched the director of the ATF admit that the right to bear arms was written to protect you from the government he works for. Let that land. This channel exists to show you exactly these moments, the ones the mainstream media buries, edits, or spins into nothing. If you believe government accountability matters, if you believe the Constitution is not a talking point, hit subscribe right now, hit the like button, share this with someone who needs to see it, because what comes next in this hearing gets even more explosive. Don't miss it.
Not to put you on the spot, but this is obviously important, Director. What does the Second Amendment say?
Sir, I wouldn't be able to.
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to.
I'll read it because I feel like it's lacking in this committee room right now. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. What does that mean to you, Director?
Here's who just asked that question. Eli Crane is not a career politician who inherited a gun stance from a party platform. He dropped out of college 1 week after 9/11, enlisted in the Navy, earned his SEAL Trident, and deployed 5 times, 3 of them to Iraq with SEAL Team 3. He carried weapons in combat. He watched teammates bleed for the Constitution. And now he sits across from the director of the agency that regulates those same weapons, an agency that spent the Biden years reclassifying legal firearms, punishing gun dealers over paperwork typos, and sending armed agents to seize property from veterans. Wikipedia, and here is Robert Cicada. 20 years inside ATF, rising from street agent to deputy director. He is not stupid. He knows exactly what Crane is building. He reads the Second Amendment off a notepad rather than recite it from memory. Then he pivots to the Gun Control Act, to balance, to prohibited persons, every bureaucratic smokescreen in the playbook. But Crane is a SEAL. He doesn't move until the target is eliminated. Watch what happens next.
Well, sir, I think I'm going to be careful with this one because I tried during my hearing to tell you that not you, but the members of the Senate, to tell you that how much ATF and myself respect the Second Amendment, the Constitution, and doing so, making sure we maintain that balance. There are portions of the Gun Control Act that obviously prohibit certain individuals who have been convicted of certain crimes from possessing firearms, and I think ATF make sure that we keep our focus on any infringements that would come out of the Gun Control Act, that it stays focused on those persons. The law should be prohibited.
That evasion is not accidental. It is institutional. For decades, the ATF has operated on a simple principle. The Second Amendment means whatever the agency needs it to mean in order to justify the next rule, the next reclassification, the next raid. The word balance is the tell. Every time a bureaucrat says balance, they mean we get to decide where the line is. Not the Constitution. Not Congress. Not you. Us. Crane then pivots, and this is where the hearing gets surgical. Democrats spent hours grilling Cicada about the NRA's influence over ATF, about gun lobby money, about firearms manufacturers. What they never asked, does the Constitution influence how you run this agency? Crane noticed, and he made sure Cicada noticed that he noticed. Watch the director's answer.
Did you notice, though, that none of them asked you about your allegiance and the influence that the Constitution has on you and other members of the ATF?
Yes, sir.
Why do you think that is, Director?
Well, sir, I'll give you my opinion. I think that the folks that had the one gentleman that had a discussion with me in particular didn't want to look back at the last administration when that administration carried out verbatim exactly what the president asked of them. And I worked with both some of the members that are sitting here behind me and the members from the NRA, NSSF, GOA, whoever would talk to me in the last administration as well. And I wasn't demonized then, but I am being demonized now because I'm not falling in line with what was perceived to be good today. And I think that's part of the problem that we have here. We should be focusing on the criminals, not each other. We are not the people that are killing folks in our streets, and we are very close to solving that problem when we want to. I see it being done over and over, and I've seen it for the last 30 years. When we hold the criminals accountable, crime goes down. And I will tell you, the last administration, one of the first steps that I saw come out of DOJ was a letter that went out to all law enforcement personnel telling us to not charge anyone with any statute that carries a minimum mandatory sentence because they didn't want to see anyone put in prison for a long time.
Here is what just happened in that hearing room. A Navy SEAL cornered the ATF director and walked him step by step to the most damning concession a gun enforcement official can make, that the right to bear arms was designed precisely to hold people like him accountable. Then Crane dropped the Tate Adamiak case. Adamiak, a decorated Navy veteran, was convicted of NFA violations after selling a parts kit he bought on Gunbroker to an undercover ATF agent. He was also convicted of possessing an RPG that ATF agents had physically modified, welding it shut, then installing a fire control unit to reactivate it before charging Adamiak as if it were his working weapon. That man is currently serving 20 years in a federal prison. His appeal is now before the Supreme Court. DOJ has not filed a reply brief. No justice has yet asked the government to respond. Amelin bearing arms. Chikata said DOJ is reviewing the case. He said the agency is in contact with Adamiak's attorneys. He said a resentencing is scheduled for June. That is not accountability. That is management. A man was imprisoned on fabricated evidence produced by the agency Cicada now runs. And the response is, we are working with DOJ. The Second Amendment exists, the director admitted, to protect citizens from a tyrannical government. Ask Patrick Tate Adamiak how well that protection is working from inside a federal cell. This is not over.